Hey there, Sanka, everybody. Welcome back for another amazing video. Today is a very important topic. I think this topic is gonna help you gain a lot. So today we're gonna be talking about how to benefit from the market crash. Remember, every single time there's a crash or there's a despair in society or economic reasons, there's a huge shift of money, and I want you to benefit from this time. I know it's a tough time and it sounds really bad, but if others are going to benefit from it, why not us, right? So let's benefit together from this time. Without any further ado, let's get this video started. So this video is going to be a first of a few where I'm going to talk about different tips on how you can benefit from these bad times where there's high inflation, there's a crash coming, potentially a micro recession coming due to COVID, things that happen due to the government printing millions and billions and trillions of dollars and putting it out in the market, causing even higher inflation. Certain big players in the market who are pulling money out of investments, and due to that there's different markets that are crashing. But how can you benefit from this? Okay, so general rule of thumb is that when the market is fearful, which is right now, you should be greedy. And this is true because when the market is fearful, supply and demand, the demand goes heavily down, supply goes up, but things that are supposed to be priced here are now cheaper. But you have to be smart enough to understand which market you're going into and if the prices are truly cheaper or if they're still inflated. For example, the housing market in Toronto is down when it comes to sales, but still the real estate agents or the realtors are forcefully keeping the prices high because it benefits them and it benefits their industry. It's $1 billion, it's billions of dollars, almost I could say maybe $1 trillion industry, and I think it's one of Canada's biggest GDP makers, real estate investment. And every year they bring in new immigration comes in, new loans, new money coming in and all that stuff. So obviously they want to keep that market for them to be valuable. So that's an inflated market. And what I'll do is in an upcoming video, I'll talk about real estate investment. And in that, I'll share a specific report. And in that report, it's a bubble index. It explains about how, certain markets are still highly inflated and stuff like that. So be smart enough to understand which markets are truly, supply and demand and are undervalued, and which markets are not. And within them, these are the few things that you should look into. So let's start this video with tip number one. So tip number one is, I'm not going to say go buy stocks and crypto which are devalued right now and those type of tips, but I'm going to say tip number one is, in the crypto market right now, miners are being sold at a very cheap price. We're talking about the same miners where GPUs were twice the expense. Now those same GPUs are back down to their original expense or even lower. And this is due to a few things. Proof of work is going to be stopped for Ethereum. Ethereum staking protocol, Ethereum is going to be moving to staking, so there's a shift. And due to that, there's going to be so many miners that are not needed anymore. And there's going to be big players which are going to be liquidating miners. This is your chance to jump in and grab those miners. Okay, Ethereum is not going to be on proof of work. So what am I going to do with those miners? Don't forget, Bitcoin is still on proof of work. Don't forget, there's still other cryptos which are still on proof of work. So this is your chance to jump and shift towards them and maybe start your own rig where you're going to be profiting in the future, inshallah. So this is good. Due to the current crash in Ethereum prices and the crypto market, there's a lot of miners that have to shut down anyway. Supply has increased, demand has roughly stayed there or decreased a little bit, and so now the prices are a lot cheaper, and so you should be able to pick up some few miners. Now, what I would say is, first, how do you get to these miners? First of all, just check locally on Craigslist, your local classified ads. In Canada, we have Kijiji. In America, we have Craigslist. We have other places. There's also Facebook Marketplace. Check there. And usually, if you're getting it from somebody else, they'll come and they'll teach you how to set it up in your house or in your whatever, your workplace or in your small office or whatever you're going to call it. And that way, they'll set it up for you and then they'll teach you how to continuously run it for the long run. And this way, you can start jumping into the mining community because they'll help you out. These guys are really helpful. They give you all the information that you need. Sometimes they give free things just to get you onboarded onto this stuff. So there's a lot of opportunity there. The second thing I would say, if you want to spend a little bit more money, is contact all your crypto mining communities or crypto mining companies that are locally around you or around your country or within country. So for example, in Canada, I'll just search up crypto mining solutions in Canada, right? And all the big companies that come up, I'll call them up. I'll ask them. Remember, you got to find opportunities. You call them up, you ask them, hey, are you selling any miners? Some old miners which are still functioning, but due to, operational costs, you guys are getting rid of them or something like that. And they'll let you know, this is how much it is. And unfortunately, we have to sell half of our inventory, blah, 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 blah. That's it. That's a good chance to pick it up. And they'll even they will be happily, talk to you about it, teach you about it. And if you say, hey, could you also help me set them up? And they might even set them up for you and teach you exactly what you need to do to keep them in good health and shape and all that stuff. So good chance for you to get crypto miners, proof of work based miners, GPUs or whatever you want to get them, and set them up, make your rig, and then not only just get Ethereum, because Ethereum is going to be going to proof of stake, but then you can focus on other cryptos which are permissible and you can make that mashallah money. All right, let's move to number 2. 1 second, just for everybody. For the channel, you gotta like, come on, you gotta share, you gotta subscribe. You've been watching these videos, you gotta do all this stuff. I'm teaching you how to make that mashallah money. Inshallah, you make that mashallah money. And may bless you and your family and bring barakah in it. Let's make that mashallah money together. Like, share, subscribe. So tip number 2, obviously this is not financial advice. None of this is financial advice, as always, and you guys know this. But tip number 2 is that get your top 5 or top 10 cryptos by utility, because maybe all those scam or all those pump tokens or hype tokens are not going to exist anymore after this bear market. So you want to be making sure that right now or maybe in a few months or within the next month is when the troll will hit for all the good projects also. Now, whichever projects you believe are going to survive and have higher utility and have a good use case in the future, remember, it's all about use case. Let's take it back to the dot-com boom. When you look at the dot-com boom, only, some big few companies that came out of it, the FANGs, which is Facebook, Amazon, blah, 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 blah. And this is because there's a utility for it, there's a use for it, there's a need for it. Remember, when there's always a demand for something or a need for something, it's always going to be surviving and it's always going to be successful. That's why you always have to focus on a business that has a need. So find your top 5 or top 10, depending on your budget. And honestly, this is a good time to get into these projects. For example, Avalanche is super cheap. Solana is super cheap. There's projects like, even Ethereum right now is super cheap. You can check out other projects, which recently there's another project that got $200 million in funding. And this is in a bear market. So, good projects are still being funded. So look into those type of projects and it might be a good chance to jump into them or maybe even DCA into them. This is tip number 2. Let me give you guys one more tip and then we'll go to another video after. My tip number 3 will be things that you should consider not doing. Okay, first of all, there's a lot of people who are freaking out and they're pulling everything out of the markets and making it into cash. Now, here's an issue with that. So when you do that, the market will crash even more. Fine. That's something that's a little bit out of your hand. You can't, if people are going to pull out, they're going to pull out. And if the market is going down, then it seems safer to pull out. Understandable. But the second issue with this is when you pull that money out and it's in cash, that leaves you to a lot of risk of inflation. Now, let's break down inflation a little bit. A lot of people talk about, oh, there's 7% inflation, there's blah, blah, blah percent inflation. Some people have seen numbers that are, oh, there's no inflation. Some people have seen some ridiculous amount of numbers that is saying it's inflation. For example, some say 4%, some will say 25%, right? So which number is correct? Well, you have to understand how inflation is calculated. And I would say always stick with one organization's inflation so you have a relative reflection point. But the issue is that usually all these organizations have inflation calculations with a box or a bag of goods. For example, they say apples, oranges, banana, bread is the bags of goods that we're reflecting it from this year to next year type of thing. But what happens is that if these organizations want to adjust the numbers of inflation or percentage of inflation, they change what's in that bag of goods. And so then you're like, okay, they just switched it up so they can increase or decrease the inflation number. So whenever you look at inflation, look at simple inflation, which is look at X bag of goods, which is the need, which is breads, fruits, vegetables, blah, 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 meats, and then see them in that sense. And usually there's a few good websites which look at inflation. World Health Organizations and United Nations, and those are usually doing a very direct reflection. So now you have money in cash. So this is the issue with it. No matter what the inflation percentage is, you're losing value on that cash. So you have cash at hand, so you can protect yourself from the market crashing, and then all of a sudden the value of that money has gone down by a huge percentage. There's no point. Now, if you look at after World War II in Germany, people used to take barrels of cash to their local groceries to get bread, get oranges. So it's like, superinflation will ruin it for you if you have cash. So what you want to do is not take things in cash. You rather want things to be in assets. And this time when there's crashes happening, the rich focus on keeping assets. They keep various different assets right there. They'll be buying into right now. They'll be buying into assets that they know when the market's going to be normalized or go back to normal will go up. For example, they'll be buying into real estate. They'll be buying into stocks. They'll be buying certain cryptos. They'll be buying certain other assets like cars and watches. Now, I don't have full understanding of the whole watches investment yet, which I'm learning right now, and the cars investing yet. Obviously, once I have that much money, then we can talk about that, but I don't have much knowledge of that. Inshallah, as I learn, as I will teach you guys, and as we're on this journey together, you'll learn with me. So, they buy into assets. That's the same thing I'm going to give you, is be like the rich people. Think like the rich people. Do not keep cash. The more cash you have, the less money you're going to have in the future. Put it into assets, some assets that you know or you feel like potentially in the future will be going higher and higher and higher. So look into that. The next part of things that I would say not to do is a lot of people panic and jump into gold during this time. Now you can capitalize on this by, if you had gold before, this might be a good time to sell, because when the market crashes, gold is the thing that's usually the most powerful. But here's the issue now. Gold used to be the go-to asset to invest in because of few reasons. Reserves were focused on gold. It was the gold standard, and there's higher utility for gold in that sense that people had a demand for it for actual use cases. Now we're not in that world anymore where there's no gold, or we're shifting away from it, where there's the huge demand for gold standard and the huge demand for reserves having gold has gone down, because we live in this different type of reserve system, different type of financial and monetary system, that it's no more on the gold standard. So that specific demand for, if you have gold, you're protected, is not there as much yet. So, but we're still seeing the rise as the rest of the markets are being crashed. Gold is going up. Personally, what I would do right now is I'm thinking about selling my gold, selling my commodities which are in this genre, and pushing it towards other formats of investment, because this is the time when it's going to be peaking, or in a few months it's going to be peaking. As soon as that whole recession thing hits, when people are going to be jumping in to buy gold, I'm going to be thinking about, okay, this is what I need to just liquidate, and so I can shift that fund towards something that's a little bit more better, something that's going to have a greater future, and I'm going to make more money from it in the upcoming 3 years. So think about this and take these tips and see what you guys like. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about my tips, and let me know what you guys are doing to survive this crash, or if anything, make money from this crash. Do not be thinking about surviving from this crash. Rather think about how you can make money from this crash, because that's what the rich are doing. And so why not we think like the rich? Hope you guys like the video. Share, like, subscribe. Check me out on my other social medias, and let me know what you guys think in the comments. Take care. Assalamu alaikum. Do subscribe, like, share, hit that bell icon for notifications. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram for more content. I'll be uploading more stuff in all of these social media websites. Thanks. Take care. Salam.